Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet here on Metal Messiah Radio. Tonight, I have a special guest with us. I have Jason Bittner of Flotsam and Jetsam, and of course, local favorites here in the Massachusetts area, Shadows Fall. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Nice to be here.
So, Jason, how old were you when you took an interest in the fine art of drumming?
Apparently, when I was a wee toddler, I was always bashing on pots and pans and stuff. The earliest thing I can remember is setting up my grandmother's garbage cans in her backyard and basically beating the hell out of those with tree branches. So that was probably 3 or 4, something like that.
Ah.
I started taking lessons in school as soon as I was able to, and that was 3rd grade, so I was about 8 years old.
Nice.
But I think I wanted to play drums ever since I saw the cover of Kiss Destroyer.
Ah! The big influence. Now, you also went to Berkeley for a year too, right?
Yeah, yep. In the late '80s, I did. Yep, right out of high school.
So, Jason, how did this formal schooling, if you will, help you out as a drummer?
It did immensely because even though I was only there for a year, the stuff that I learned there was extremely valuable, and it was priceless to help me as number one, as a drum teacher for later in life, and to be a more well-rounded and versatile player rather than just being quote unquote a rock and metal guy. Yeah, that's what I do best. But when that first year, you're learning all the core things that you should know as an all-around drummer, proper techniques, correcting proper techniques you may have learned as a kid that were, improper, and once you got to that level, it's time to clean your hands up, so to speak, and stuff like that. And for me, it was learning how to do four-way jazz independence and to start getting into playing some styles of Latin music, which expanded my horizons as a player, which also helped me from a performance aspect because they were really hard things to try to accomplish and master. And it's just like learning and perfecting double bass. You got to put the time and effort into it. It's the same type of thing with learning how to play a samba and things of that nature. And if I wasn't there for that year, I wouldn't have had my mind open to that. So I really think that it was a valuable time for me. I wish I could have stayed, but I did what a lot of people did. A lot of my friends and a lot of my peers did. They went for a year or two and either just met people and went out and started playing, or just wanted to go out and just get on the road. Well, Berkeley's a great school, but unless you're going for production engineering or the business side of things, most people don't graduate. It has a low graduating class, and most people just go there for a little while, and they get out and they get on tour and start playing, and hopefully that leads to their success down the road. The one thing that Berkeley can't teach you how to do is be in a band. You got to get out there and do it yourself. Can't teach you how to get in a band. You got to do it.
There you go. Hey, maybe you're onto something. Maybe you could start teaching people how to be in a band, Jason.
I don't know if I want that job.
Now you mentioned, teaching drums and stuff. Now, do you do clinics and instructional videos and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, as much as I can. I have a few DVDs I've released over the years. A book I released a number of years ago, and I've been teaching privately since I came home from Berkeley in 1989. So I've been teaching for quite a while, and I enjoy it. I do live lessons here in Schenectady, Niskayuna, and Albany, New York. I teach out of Drum Sound Music in Schenectady. I also do a lot of Skype lessons. I have, right now I have students in 3 different countries, which is pretty amazing with the technology nowadays. So it's just a quick drop by my website, www.jasonbittner.com page, and that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. But it's something that I do. It's my livelihood right now. When any band is off the road, you need income. So, unfortunately, none of us are rock stars here.
Right. Now, hey, do you ever do drum clinics or anything like that?
I do. I've been doing clinics for 11 years now. Unfortunately, in this day and age, clinics are kind of drying up because it's not really financially worth it for the stores to give them that much anymore. Because at least years ago, the clinic was a big event. It was you come to see an artist in person. You come to see the latest gear they're going to play. And nowadays, you don't need to do that because you can just go click on YouTube and see where you played last night live, right from your living room or your kitchen, your kitchen table. And then you can click on every manufacturer's website and watch the up-to-date video of all their new gear right there on their website. So why leave your house to go sit at a music store?
That's true.
So for the music store, and I'm not trying to paint a bleak picture, but that's literally what the deal is. I mean, you still get people who come out, but it's not like it used to be. Before, there used to be big events. I used to do clinics, and it would be at least 75 to 100 people, and now you're lucky if you get 15 to 40 people. And
that's too bad.
That changes with your popularity levels and all that. But on an overall basis, if you looked at a drum manufacturer or a cymbal manufacturer's website 10 years ago and looked at their clinic calendar, and now if you go and look at them now, it's probably about 5% of what it used to be per year. So, and unfortunately, that hurts the artists too, because now we're all trying to fight for that tiny little piece of the pie that the company has budgeted for their clinic roster. And if you have 10 guys coming after money that's only really there that could pay for maybe 5 guys worth of clinics, then unfortunately it leaves A&R people that have to be stuck in certain situations where they have to make decisions. So, that being said, as we go on with these things, I try to pick and choose my clinics. And if someone asks me to do something, I tell them right off the bat, if you're not prepared to finance this mostly on your own, then we can't really talk about this, because I'm not going to go to my companies to support this, because it's got to be an important one. Like I said, someone that asked me to do one, can you do it at the school? I'm like, no, because once again, the company is not going to make any money. They're not going to sell any equipment at a school. They're going to sell it at the music store. So once again, financially, it does them no service to commit financially for me to do a clinic at a school.
Right. Unless
it's like a college, like the Collective in New York or Berkeley, something like that, and that's a whole different case. But so that's why it's either if mom and pop music store wants to do a clinic, I go, okay, that's great. My usual rate is this if the companies kick in. But I'm telling you right now, I know they won't, because you don't carry this brand or whatever the answer is. I'll do it at a discounted rate of this. I'm going to do it. And they either say yes or they say no. And if I know it's going to be a good one, or a place where, like a big clinic in a big city, or somewhere where I know that all my companies they carry, then I go to the companies and I go, all right, well, this is an important one. It's in Chicago. It's at Vic's Drum Shop, and and then they go, okay, yep, no problem. Because a lot of times too, what depends on that too is how much volume a particular store does is who gets the clinic budget as well.
Right.
So even if you have a great store that carries your product, if they only buy one drum set per year, they might not be the one that gets the clinic budget, where the one down the street, like let's say the bigger Guitar Center or whatever that buys 10 kits a month, they might go, well, we'll put you in Chicago, but can you go to the Guitar Center instead? So.
Well, it's like you said, with all the technology today, if they want to see Jason, you just go Skype him up there, and he'll teach you person. There you go. Now, do you go out to NAMM every year to appear with your endorsements?
Yeah, I'm normally there. I've been there every year since 2000, with the exception of 1 year that Shadows Fall was out on tour.
Now, Jason, if I ever go to NAMM, can I borrow $36 for a beer?
Absolutely. Go ask Ian McDonald. One of the greatest quotes that he said one night, late night, when we were sitting around the table at the Hilton pool, and just all of us just went into hysterics. He was like, hey, you guys got $36 I can borrow to go buy a beer? And we were just like, oh my God. At the time, it was the funniest thing we had heard all day.
Yeah,
then I said it to him the next year, and he went, what? I go, dude, you don't remember saying that? I'm like, you don't remember the whole table erupting and laughing? No, it's pretty funny, though. So now it's become the long-running joke right there.
Obviously, as he put me up to it. Even when he's not here, he's got to slip it in.
Nice.
No, Jason, you played with all these great bands, filling in for Charlie and Anthrax. Now, was that during a Mayhem tour?
Yeah, that was one of the times. The first time I filled in for him was the tail end of the Among the Living reunion tour.
Okay.
And that was in January of 2006.
Mm-hmm.
It was right when he had his baby.
Right.
So I came in for the last two shows of that tour, and then 2012 I came in for some South American shows.
Mm-hmm.
After Mom passed, and then I ended up staying around for the whole Mayhem tour because of everything else that was going on.
Right, because I went to see the Mayhem tour with Anthrax, and you were playing drums, so I was like, oh, but I wasn't quite sure if it was I'm like, I think it was a Mayhem tour, because after a while, they all kind of run together.
Yeah.
I actually have pictures somewhere of you sitting up there. I think it was like pouring freaking rain, thundering and lightning and shit, and you guys were still...
Mayhem, Hartford, and it was absolutely the best.
Yep. It was. It was in Hartford, and it was pouring freaking rain, and you guys were out there just playing your hearts out. Everyone was getting wet, moshing in the mud. It was the greatest thing ever.
It was the last day of the tour. I was just making sure my two friends didn't get electrocuted.
Yeah, me too. I was waiting for that. I was like, oh, God. Because it was a pretty freaking big storm there, because none of the other bands were playing.
Finally, actually. It was nasty. That show almost got canceled. That's why they kept holding us off.
Yep.
It was pretty shitty out there. I know if I was if I was a patron, I would have been hiding in the bathroom or somewhere inside, that's for sure.
I could just remember just being, once you're soaking wet, who the fuck cares at that point?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but, for you guys, of course, with all the electricity up there, I was freaking out because none of the other bands were playing. I'm like, they're gonna get killed out there. Shit's blowing everywhere. I'm like, oh my God. But it was fantastic. It was the greatest ever.
Yeah, it stayed together somehow.
It was great. Now, since those early years banging on those pots and bands, you've been featured in like a shit ton of drum magazines, won all kinds of awards. I mean, are you enjoying yourself as a drum celebrity, Jason?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, I don't really look at it that way. I really don't. Mm-hmm. Because, it's kind of like, I kind of like try not to just dwell on the past, and I kind of just keep trying to look ahead to the future and see what I can do next, and see what road does lie ahead for me next. So, but there's some days where I just happen to just stop for a second, and I'm looking at something, or I come across something in my attic in the archive or something that just makes me go, holy shit! I forgot about this moment happening, or I forgot about this, or I forgot about that. My wife showed me this picture the other day of basically behind the kit picture of me at Ozfest 2005 in San Bernardino playing in front of 25,000 people, and I'm just like, oh, that was the days. And she's like, why can't you just be happy that happened in your life? And I'm like, oh yeah, you're absolutely 100%.
Yeah, of course. Leave it to the woman to slap some sense into you.
Well, she does that often. That's why I have her.
That's why you keep her around, huh?
No, it's just good to be reminded of that sometimes.
Oh, sure. Now, Jason, of course, like I was telling you earlier, here by Worcester, where I cover all the shows, Shadows Fall have always been, as you know, like the fan favorites around here. Always something to talk about you guys with, the different members going through the band. Some of them going off to jail and stuff, we all know that shit. And of course, everybody would see Brian all the time at the shows and stuff. Now, You came in the band, I believe, because their drummer was having some personal issues, and you never left. What's it been like with A Shadow's Fall, being in that band for all those years?
Well, he was out when I joined. They were looking for a drummer, and they just couldn't find anybody who worked. And and not that they didn't try out some good drummers, but they just couldn't find someone that worked the way they want, for what they were looking for a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked me to audition. I said no at the time because at that time my mother had just died. I was going through a lot of personal issues, and it was just one thing where I just was not ready to join another band.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept looking. They still couldn't find anybody because they had already given Dave the boot.
Yep.
On stage at the Metal Fest.
Yeah, I remember.
So anyway, which is not a really regal way to get fired. But anyways, and then the second time they asked, it just hurt to come down and play some songs. No. So I went down and jammed, and everything sounded great. And I just said that I would do the first tour because they had never been to Europe before, and I had already gone a few times with various other bands that I had played in, and I knew what a big deal it is to go to Europe for your first time as a band, and how that would have helped spread their name.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd always told myself I was going to give it at least to the end of the tour until I made any kind of decision on what I wanted to do. And, of course, we made it as far as the bar next to our managers the day we were leaving for Europe before I said, yeah, all right, I'll be in the band. so in my inside voice was like, yeah, way to wait there, dude. Like, wow, 2 beers, and that was that easy, huh? So I just figured at that point, I thought it was my last shot to really get anywhere with something.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out great, I would say.
It's just, over time things have changed. Everything started when everybody started getting married and stuff. See, I've been married basically my whole career in the band, so
right.
I was a totally different situation. We were already settled down when, the band, when the band was building, my wife and our relationship was building, so she was here from day one.
Right.
So it was no big deal to us, but as other people started getting older and then started getting married,
mm-hmm.
started getting settled down, then they kind of realized, like, when I would go home from tour, like when we book a tour, I'm like, Jesus Christ, we just fucking got off a tour. Can we stay on for like more than a month? And everybody would be like, oh, I just want to get right back out on the road. And then once they started settling down, they're like, oh, this is why JB wants Yeah. When you have some sort of order and semblance for a little while, you're like, all right, let's just not, like, things don't have to be moving at all times anymore for 6 weeks at a clip. Let's just slow down for a little bit.
Yeah. And you know what?
So,
yeah, go ahead.
That started happening, and everybody started, and guys started having kids. We just didn't have the time to be on the road as much.
Mm-hmm.
The musical climate changed and everything else. So,
mm-hmm.
for what it's worth, right now, the guys that really need to be home with their families are home.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys that want to still play music, fortunately, are, in one way, shape, or form, still out here being able to play music.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. And it's like you said, and we all saw it because Brian would tell us on stage, my wife's going to have a baby, I'm going to be changing diapers.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, well, that's nice seeing you around. Now he's got another one.
He just had his second one.
I know, like just a couple of days ago.
I sent him a text, I go, so I guess we can, he sent me a picture of him holding both kids. They're so adorable. I texted him, I'm going, so I guess now we can officially announce the band breakup because I don't know if I can leave those two if I was you.
Yeah. Well, we kind of, with Shadow's Fall, we saw it kind of, when he was having the first one, it already started slowing down a little bit. But, all the timing and stuff, it still worked out okay for you, Jason, because when all this stuff was going on, then Kelly's leaving Flotsam and in you go. So you didn't really have time to fool around in between too much.
No, it was a decent situation because at that point John was already full time in Anthrax, and I saw that coming because I'm the guy who was instrumental in getting him in the band.
Mm-hmm.
Rob kept asking me all through Mayhem, "Can John do this? Can John do this? Can John do this?" And I'm 75% thinking it's just Rob talking out his ass. He was just threatening, "I'm quitting. You're not quitting. Shut up." But of course, I kept saying, "Of course John can do it. John's an amazing guitar player." Mm-hmm. And finally, Rob quits. He goes, "Yeah, all right. Well, John's going to play." You actually quit? Wait a minute. So once we got to that situation where we knew John wasn't going to be able to do double duty. So, once we got to that point, we knew that the writing was on the wall, and Brian was home, Paul was home, and now, everything. I'm like, what's next? And then, Kelly called, and it was right at that point where we were deciding that we were going to be on hiatus. And I'm like, all right, because
perfect.
That's good, because I'll take that offer, because that was going to be better than going to start building a resume of why I've been out of the job.
Well, the timing, like I said, it was just perfect. And I've had Kelly on the show before telling us all about the good, the bad, and the ugly history of the band that is Flotsam and Jetsam. And it's like you said, he handpicked you, so it fell in your freaking lap.
That's still there. But it's just funny because all that exists with Flotsam and Jetsam had already existed with Shadows Fall, and I'm just like, wow, I think I stepped into the same band, it's just in a different time zone.
and here we are, 2016. You guys are about to release a self-titled album. So tell us about the writing process and that whole story.
This record came together literally from Mike Gilbert's, Michael Spencer, and Steve's demos all coming to life. Mm-hmm. We had 17 songs to start with. We didn't know what we were going to do as far as the whole album goes. The thought at first was to possibly do a double album, and then we were like, no, let's just concentrate on a batch of really, really strong songs. There's a lot to deal with making another record and everything. Mm-hmm. New band, the last thing, aside from the No Place re-recording, the last thing they did was Ugly Noise. And it was a, let's say, moderately received record. Mm-hmm. At least in my eyes, that's how I feel. Mm-hmm. And there's some great songs on that record. Giddy Up, Play Your Part, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that once they got back together, I think fans were expecting more. I think they were expecting more like No Place kind of, oomph. And I think when they re-recorded No Place, and this is tough because this is me now not speaking as Jason Bittner, the drummer in Flotsam and Jetsam. This is me speaking as Jason Bittner, the drummer from Shadows Fall, speaking as a fan of Flotsam.
Right. But a lot of us were speaking.
I'm not going to speak out of turn as a band member right now, okay? Because I wasn't here for the creation of this. Mm-hmm. But I was there for the creation of Ugly Noise in hindsight, because Kelly was sending me the demos unbeknownst to the band, because we're such good friends. Mm-hmm. So I had heard these songs from the early stages, and I'm just like, all right, turn off the Flotsam. The Flotsam fan comes out, and I'm like, I want more balls, more balls.
Yeah, yep.
So then when he sent me the No Place re-release demos, like before it was mixed and stuff, just like when they were tracking it. Mm-hmm. My first reaction was, dude, why are the songs so slow? Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, because we played them too fast back in the day. And I totally understand that, because as a player, I understand the adrenaline rush of being 18, 19, trying to play
right,
fast as possible, because now everybody's trying to be faster than Slayer or whatever. But I understand that the youngness, the aggression, and that that inability as young musicians to have that restraint yet, and plus. And he said, in some of the guitar parts you can't even make out because we're playing the stuff so fast. Okay, so now fast forward to now I'm Jason in the band.
Mm-hmm.
Now I realize it when we play some of these songs because we still play them faster than the re-recorded version because part of the problem is I am so into those old tempos.
Mm-hmm.
And when Gilbert looks back at me and gives me that slow down sign, I'm like, can't, sorry.
You're just gonna have to speed up.
No, 1988 tempo, right in my head, sorry. Can't do it. Put your hand down as much as you want. I'm trying, but I can't take my foot off the gas.
Put your hand down as much as you want.
Those nights where he's like, he'll turn around like, all right, dude, you're racing it tonight. And I don't know, I can't tell. The adrenaline's there. I'm happy playing one of my favorite bands.
You're in your own world, Jason.
I'm in my own world. So, anyways, but now as a player of some of the songs, it's definitely better playing some of the songs slower, even if it's only, not so drastically slower, but a few BPM slower so we can actually hear all the phrasing of the guitar parts and all that. So I do understand that. So getting back to the new album, in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say is I think that the band had something to prove with this album.
Mm-hmm.
And I 110% think that we proved it and then some.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason, I think, too, why it's just, we said Flotsam and Jetsam, it's like, new band,
Mm-hmm.
art. So there you have it.
And it is, and it's a new band. I mean, with the exception of Eric's voice, which, you can't really change that from, doesn't matter who else is in your band with you. It sounds like a whole different animal. And I think when you were mentioning, where's the balls? They're back. I guess you're the balls, Jason, because but you know what I mean? It's just, it sounds a little bit harder, a different style without straying too much away from it being Flotsam and Jetsam, but just a fresher style. And with some of their past releases or their last one, I think they self-released the last one. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, it was released through Metal Blade, too.
Well, something was missing, and I really do think that, when I heard it, it was obviously a Flotsam and Jetsam, but there was just something missing, or there's something not to be as excited about. And I think a lot of fans kind of lost a little interest or whatever. So now when this band, I know I did, to be perfectly honest, so when the new one came out, I was like, oh, great, another one. And then I listened to it, and I was like, what in the hell? This is nothing like that one. The other one reminds me of Sleepy. This is great because I think, add a bit of a different style. I think different time changes in there. The beats are heavier. It's just interesting. It's a little more interesting. And you could hear the drums on this one too, So, and all the parts though, Jason.
A lot of interplay between the rhythm section.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a very, very distinct new writing style that adds so much of a dimension to the band. And I think it was just the way we all gelled as a unit, which is what brought out the amazing performance from AK.
Mm-hmm.
So I just can't explain it. It just worked,
Yep.
We're really proud of it, and we just hope that we can get some touring and get some people to let us get out there and play, so we can bring it to the masses.
Well, I was going to say to you too, you don't even have to explain it. All you have to do is listen to it. And you could hear it, the fans could hear it for yourself. Now, what have been some of the early reactions from the music that you've gotten back so far?
So far, everybody's loved it. So we haven't really had any bad reviews. We've done a lot of European interviews, and they're just like, they've been all over it.
Mm-hmm.
I've sent it off to a few of my people out in drumland and we're getting some good responses back from some named people, some people in the business, and some other band members we've been sending it off to just to get their opinion. So we're hearing good things, so it's nice.
Well, the kind of cool thing is when we get this music, it's like I said, you're saying, oh, okay, great, Flotsam and Jetsam. And then you hear it, and I'm sure, because it was my reaction, and I'm sure it's like all these people's reactions are like, whoa, So, that's a reaction I get. I know the fans are just gonna like wake up when they hear this one. Now you had mentioned, hoping for some tours. Do you have anything coming up?
Yeah, we had something that was supposed to start at the end of May, and now it looks like that may have not come to fruition. To the band we were supposed to go out with. They're waiting on something else before that.
Right.
Kind of waiting on that, which is making us go, all right, we certainly need to go do something else, because right now the record comes out in 3 weeks.
Right.
We want to be out there. So now there's talk of a few other bands that we may be pairing up with to go out July to August. Then we head off to Europe August 9th for a few festivals over there.
Nice.
And then we go back September 16th through October 16th for a full European tour with Destruction.
Oh, well, that'll be fun. Especially with this album you guys got out now. That'll be great.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. That just got confirmed, and then there's some talk of possible dates in South America in November, and we'll see.
So you guys have, I'm assuming you have a Facebook page people could go to, and with a little tour button or something that they could see where you guys are at?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the best way now, so people could just go over there. Yep.
Jetsam.com, all that stuff, it's all up there.
Yep, so, okay, well, again, Flotsam and Jetsam self-titled album will be released May 20th off AFM Records. Now, this is your first release off of AFM, right?
Yes, it is.
And it's a great one. It's great to have some kind of label backing. And again, Jason, thank you for taking the time to do this with us tonight. And, best of luck with this new album and out there on the road.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it. We appreciate it.